All right, everybody, welcome back to Freight Waves now on this Friday morning. Right now, we're going to welcome Peter Rentschler from Metaphora, getting a double dose of the Metaphora crew this week, actually. And we're going to talk a little bit about the return on investment when you're looking from a culture perspective. So, Peter, thank you for joining us. I know that this is a topic that you're pretty passionate about, and we see it when we talk to the other people from Metaphora as well.
Thanks. I'm a little biased, but I do agree that we have incredible people. And I think a big part of that secret sauce is our culture and something that I personally spend a lot of time, energy, and money on.
And I've got to know, do you give the folks at Metaphora TV training? Because I don't think that we've had a single guest so far from you guys that hasn't done really well on here. And that's saying something, because your workforce is one pretty big. And it's really impressive to have everybody be that camera ready.
Yeah, we do not give them any TV training. So honestly, I think it's just them watching y'all on stage over and over again and learning from the best.
So kind.
So kind. Peter, we need to have you on more often.
But I think everybody gets plenty of time with us.
But jumping into today's topic, let's jump into it. ROI on culture. What is a big overview on this as we kind of dive into this subject here? Because this is hard to quantify. I know in my mind, in economics, I can almost quantify anything in an Excel sheet if you give me enough time. But what's going to be some of the basic steps about going about this?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think that this industry talks a lot about culture. And I want to be clear that, to me, culture is not throwing people pizza parties and happy hours. Culture is really about how your people feel about working there and kind of the shared values and mindset that the people that make up your business and your team members share. And so, as you think about actually quantifying the ROI, I tend to break it into quantitative and qualitative examples. And so on the quantitative side, for instance, I have personally seen in today's job market, it's not all about the dollar amount. And everybody talks about how hard it is to hire people and how everybody has unrealistic compensation expectations. I've personally witnessed employees taking below market compensation because they want to be a part of a company culture, because they see that they can grow and develop and that the managers care about their development there. And to me, that's an opportunity to quantify it. Now, on the qualified value, it's more about the level of service that your customers get as a result of having a team that actually loves where they work and loves their teammates. So that's how I think about it.
I think one of those really big numerical quantifiers of do I have a good culture, do I not have a good culture, is how many people are applying for your jobs based off of recommendations from long tenured employees or employees who have come to your company and then shown really large growth or shown really large progress, right? Because if you've got more employees coming in and saying, you know what, this person gave me a recommendation and I'm citing this one as the interest for my job, that's a really good indicator that not only are your people enjoying what they're doing, they're going out and they're talking about it with their network. They're actively trying to seek out other people to join that network, right? And I think that's something that kind of gets lost in the sauce sometimes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's funny, one of the things that we measure and one of the questions we get is how do you measure, how your employees feel about your business? And so we measure, y'all have heard of a net promoter score in technology products or service, which is where, it's really on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this product to a friend or family member? So one of the questions that we ask in our twice a year employee survey is, how likely are you to recommend Metaphora as a great place to work? And we just did a survey in April. We had a 94% rating on that. We were at a 93% before that. So I completely agree that can be an indicator of how your company is performing. And then you start to look at quantifying what percentage of your hires are coming in through referrals. And I would think on the low end, somewhere between 10 to 20% of hires at a great company should be coming from referrals, if not more. Because Kaylee, to your point, great great people want to, if they're working at a great company where they feel that they can grow and develop and that there's a great culture, they're going to want to pull in their friends and family to also work there.
And Peter, as we take a step back, what are going to be some areas of improvement that you see within the industry overall for really being able to have some improvement in this topic?
Yeah, so I think y'all know that I'm not. I try to find the fine line of being respectful of our clients, but also critical of the industry. And I think, in my experience, this industry kind of has a broad spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, you have kind of the historically kind of legacy, tends to be more of the asset-backed businesses where it's kind of people coming in, clocking out, and they're kind of just satisfactory with their business, kind of like an office space mentality. At the other end of the spectrum, you have kind of like the fast-moving, fast-paced freight brokerage, logistics, kind of stereotype where it's happy hours and bar tabs and parties and so on and so forth. And one of the things that I think, Anthony, it's a great question, because one of the things that I think is overlooked so much in this industry is how are your managers incentivized to train and develop the people under them? In my experience, like the best cultures are not top down, I'm going to tell you what to do, but they are, leaders and managers giving people strategy and then leaving it up to them to determine the tactics and then providing support and guidance along the way. And in my experience, that's one of the biggest differentiators for companies that have been winning in a really challenging hiring market. But also really one of the drivers of great management and leadership and a shift in what kind of the workforce of 2022 is looking for.
I always think of like that cartoon that exists. It's like leadership isn't the leader sitting on the back, things being carried by their people, right? It's the person in the front helping carry their people along. And I think that's a really good point to bring up too, is that a lot of times in logistics, it's kind of that top-down space where it's like you've got the highest performing person in that managerial space, but they're not necessarily performing in their management duties. So it's exciting to hear you talk about that, and exciting to hear you talk about how you guys help out your clients with that, Peter. And I wish we had more time with you today, but if folks want to get in contact with you guys at Metaphora, where can they go to do that?
Yep. So find us online, metaphora.net. I'm also on LinkedIn, Peter Rentschler, and you can also find us at Metaphora on LinkedIn as well, and Twitter, and probably everywhere else that you get connections. But really appreciate the time, and for anyone listening, I could talk about changing company culture for hours on end. It's something I'm incredibly passionate about, and I think has really been a differentiator for us scaling our business and the success of a lot of our clients. So we welcome anyone interested in the discussion. Thanks for having me on, y'all.